Aloha kako. We want to welcome you all here to Kalahui Pua'a, our beautiful and heavenly place by the sea as we sit on the lanai, the porch of the Ewa Parker Woods Cottage. And
Mm-hmm.
something that we have done over the years, uh, talk star events, Twilight at Kalahui Pua'a, meeting on Saturday evenings once a month, on the Saturday evenings closest to the full moon. And of course, ever since our COVID and pandemic, had to take a little break from Twilight, where we couldn't really have our
Live.
large gatherings and live
Mm.
audience, but reduced to a much smaller audience with our camera and sound people and you and I, and once in a while we
Yes.
have our a guest with us.
Mm-hmm.
So this is our virtual talk story, and we want to welcome you here in this short time that we're together, and just Anna and I will just share stories, share songs and hula, and something that we've done over the many years here. And
Yes.
so we just want to we're just so happy that you folks are out there in the audience, and hopefully you enjoy this moment with us. We wish you were all here.
Yes.
Such a beautiful afternoon here at Kalahui Pua'a.
Yes, we've got a nice sultry afternoon, shaded over by some much needed clouds. I hope we get some rain.
Yes. And you know, this area of which is focal point are the natural ancient fish ponds here, ponds that are over 2,000 years old. And in the history and in the story of Kalahui Pua'a, this is a place where the ali'i, the royalty, would gather, their high priest, their kahuna nui. The Hawaiians who lived here were basically the kia iloko, or the guardians and keepers of these royal fish ponds. And so Kalahui Pua'a was a rest stop, was a place of R&R, was a retreat for the ancient Hawaiian kings. And because of its location amongst the great mountains, we're in the very center and the very pico of five of the tallest and largest mountains on the face of the earth. Behind us, we have Mauna Kea, we have Mauna Loa. On this side, we have Hualalai, which overlooks Kona. We have Haleakala on the island of Maui, and we have the Kohala Mountains here. So we are considered to be in the very pico, in the navel, or the spiritual center of these mountains. Some people call places like this a vortex, place where one can come to re-energize, renew their energy, as well as a place of healing. So perhaps we'll start off this afternoon with a song um, that speaks of the royalty, that speaks of the ali'i, a song that we all grew up with called Na'ali'i. And if you know the words, sing along with us. Aloha na ahui o nā ali'i mai nā kupuna mai. E pa'i nā o lelo kaulana e lea moe i ki a huwa lea i nā homana ua nā no nā ali'i kaulana. Ua pau ua halako a koe no nā pua. Ua pau ua halako a koe no nā pua. Aloha nā ahui o nā ali'i mai nā kupuna mai. E pa'i nā o lelo kaulana e hele a moe i ki ala. Huwa lea e nā ho'omana o nā no nā ali'i kaulana. Ua pau ua halako a koe no nā pua. Ua pau ua halako a koe no nā pua. E lei ka lei ha'ahe o Hawaii nā i hala. E pa'i nā o lelo kaulana e hele a moe i ki ala. Walia ina ho na wana no na alika hulana. Ua pau halako ako no na pua. Ua pau halako ako no na pua. Well, it's been a long time. Tried to do the second verse, but never made it all the way through.
You know, that song was our freshman year combined co-ed song at Kamehameha Schools, song contest. And brings back a lot of memories, especially with this year being our 50th anniversary of graduating from Kamehameha Schools. So a big shout out to my fellow 1972 classmates from Kamehameha Schools. Love you all, and had a wonderful time visiting with you this past June at the class reunion.
Class of 72.
Class of 1972.
And to
Proud
all my
warriors.
classmates, class of 71, aloha to you all out there as well. But you know, this song, Na'ali'i, speaks about the chiefs of Hawaii. It also speaks of an old Hawaiian saying,
Ehele a moe.
Ehele a moe keala. And that was a law that was set by King Kamehameha the Great.
Yes, the Mamalahoi.
The Mamalahoi, the
Kanawai Mamalahoi.
Kanawai Mamalahoi. And it's called the Law of the Splinter Paddle, through an incident that happened in the Hilo area of the island where Kamehameha's young chief went out on his own and took a small crew of people on his canoe, and when he got to an area in Hilo, he jumped off of his canoe and pursued some fishermen. And in this story, his foot got stuck perhaps in a rock or maybe
Crevice of sorts.
crevice.
Yeah.
And one of the fishermen turned around and used his paddle to hit Kamehameha on the head, and of course that certainly stopped Kamehameha. But apparently this paddle did splinter. Kamehameha did make it out of there and was taken back to Laupoehoi. And sometime later, when Kamehameha went back to Hilo, I believe they found the fishermen who had committed that act of hitting Kamehameha on the head with his paddle. And it was at that moment that Kamehameha had said that, you know, if I am to be a good king of Hawaii, I need to take care of my people. And so he created that Kanawai Mamalahoi, or the law of the splintered paddle, Ehele a moe I keala. In other words, for any man, woman, and child, and elder who travels on these ancient trails, like the trails that come here, the Alakahakai Trail or the Alahele Trail, or the inland Alaloa Trail, if you travel on the trail, you will be protected, and you will be, it's a safe trail. And so anyone that was caught not abiding by that law was punishable by death. So that's an old saying, Ehele a moe I keala. And there was another saying that at the end of the first verse, Ua halala ko a koe no na pua. Although many of our kupuna, our ancestors, have passed,
and chiefs have passed,
but the descendants, the
pua,
descendants still remain. So it's a great song that we sing. I
brings back a lot of great memories.
wish I had remembered all of the second verse.
Me too.
Anyway.
That was 54 years ago that we sang that song.
Yes. Well, you know, this month of August is a month that is special on several accounts. Well, first of all, kids are heading back to school, and
yes, they are, earlier and earlier in the year.
Our grandson Aiden was with us for this summer, and
yes,
is now back in Honolulu and preparing to go to school. So we hope all of you kids the best, and
as you return back to your academics and school, in classroom learning that all of you will be healthy and happy and grateful to receive the education that you received, because I know for myself, attending the schools that we attended, and we were all
Kamehameha schools.
Kamehameha schools. I attended St. Joseph's initially in Hilo. That's where I was born and raised. But when our family moved to Honolulu in 1968, I had the great fortune of being accepted into the Kamehameha schools and attended there. And as soon as I stepped on campus, and I was amazed by all of the programs that were provided for the students there, and an amazing campus. I came to really realize and be so grateful for all of the wonderful educational opportunities and other opportunities outside of academics, in the arts, and in the physical reign as well, with sports, swimming for me, with synchronized swimming. But that's something that, as my classmates reflect 50 years after graduation, how grateful we are, and how blessed we were to be a part of that school and to receive the blessing of Bernice Pauahi Bishop, one of our amazing ali'i, royalty, that bequeathed her entire fortune and inheritance for the children of Hawaii, that they be educated. And we are both the beneficiaries of that.
Yes.
So very much to be grateful for, of all the blessings of that education. Yeah.
Yes. So all the best to all of the kids returning to school after a nice summer,
Yes.
a nice kauvela, as you would say in Hawaii nei. But it's also in August, back in 1959, I believe, August 21st,
Mm-hmm.
Hawaii, the islands of Hawaii were admitted to the United States.
Yes, President Eisenhower at the time signed the bill that was voted on by Congress to admit Hawaii as a 50th state and to achieve statehood. And I think it was November when the voting public of Hawaii, the voters here, 132,000 plus voters that voted for us being becoming
Yeah.
a state. Yeah.
Yes, and so we became the 50th state of Hawaii.
Yes.
It's interesting that, many of the people that we come across, when they talk about where they live up on the mainland, they don't always realize that Hawaii is part of the United States. They say, oh, back where we come from, the United States. And I went, oh, well, we are a state of Hawaii, the 50th state. And they say, oh, and I guess, because of our culture of Hawaii, and because we're not really connected
Part of
to
the
mainland,
contiguous 49
right,
other states.
People may not realize that we're the 50th state. And I would jokingly tell them, well, you didn't need a passport, right, to come here. And they said, oh, that's right. But anyway, yeah, so we are the 50th state of the United States. And, the ceremonies went on in the Iolani Palace. And following that, everyone walked over to Kawaiahao Church, the Westminster Abbey of Hawaii, of which our uncle, Reverend Abraham Akaka, or Kaho Akaka, was the minister. And it was during the statehood address that he delivered that
From the pulpit at
That
Kawaiahao
uncle
Church. Yeah.
gave the name of the state the Aloha State.
Hawaii, the Aloha State. Isn't that lovely?
Yes, it is. And it's really a perfect name and reflection of the state of Hawaii. As truly, Dad would always say, and you can
Yes, as
share
Dad would
that?
always say, aloha is Hawaii's gift to the world. And it truly is. So many people know that word, aloha, both here in the islands, in the States, and around the world and globally, universally. They are familiar with that word, aloha. And they know it as hello, goodbye, means love. But in our understanding, there's a much deeper meaning to the word aloha, as it's a combination of two different words. Alo, to be in one's divine presence, physically in each other's presence, but in a divine way, in a very spiritual way, that we stand physically in front of each other to share the ha, and as you put it so beautifully, that ha, so that breath that represents.
Yes. So that word ha is a word that, whether you realize it or not, every time you take a breath, you actually say that word ha. And the ancients, the Hawaiians, Polynesians, and perhaps other cultures looked at one's ha, one's breath, as one's spirit and one's life force. So as two people would come into each other's alo, or each other's divine presence, they would touch nose to nose, breathing in and out in a way to exchange that ha, and by doing so, exchanging each other's life forces and spirit.
Yes.
So that word that we grew up with, aloha, to be in one's presence, to share one's spirit, a word that, yes, has many meanings, hello, goodbye, a word of love, but yet carries a much deeper meaning, more profound meaning of sharing one's spirit with another. The word aloha.
You know, when we were growing up, that word was used quite frequently in everyday life as part of your kuleana to aloha kekahi kekahi. You know, growing up in our families, that meant taking care of each other, loving each other, but taking care of each other. Aloha kekahi ikekahi. And so that was something that we would often hear, an understanding of kuleana, of responsibility, of being a part of a family, that you not just physically take care of each other, but you really care for them and treat them respectfully. Tall order for a little kid, yeah. Any child growing up. But there was also another phrase that was part of the family. Your family, I know when I first met your family, it was, we always said it in English, but your family always said it in Hawaiian. Aloha ke akua.
God is love.
God is love. And both coming from very spiritual families, where there was a lot of understanding and respect for our higher God, a higher being. And aloha ke akua. That's one of the...
And when Uncle Abraham, in his earlier life, spent some time on the mainland, and some years ago I was sitting here in the Ewa Parker Woods Cottage, which is part of the great Mauna Lani Auberge, and two people came to the door and knocked, and they asked if they could come in, and I said, of course, come in, hele mai. And so they came in and they sat down at the round core table with me, and we talked. They said, I know we never met, but we knew your Uncle Abraham, Akaka. And I said, oh, you did? I said, from where? And they said, well, we were all part of this camp called Chili Camp. And Chili Camp,
in
and
Colorado.
I remember Uncle talked about that, the camp that he was
camp
like
counselor.
A camp counselor.
He and Aunty Mary Lou were both camp counselors there. I
Yes.
believe that's where they met.
Ah.
Yes.
And so they
Chili
said,
camp.
your uncle would have his ukulele, and he had a beautiful voice, and he would sing. And they shared a song that Uncle sang, which is Aloha Means. And they shared with me the words, and it's a song that I heard before that were sung by others, by Alfred Apaka, Uncle Danny Kalekini, and others as well. And it's a nice song. Shall we share that song
Sure.
with
It is
our
a lovely
with our
song.
audience out there?
That would be
A
lovely.
nice song that kind of explains aloha. And this is what Uncle would sing, and I understand that those that attend Chili Camp still sing that song.
Till today.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing.
They have a music book, and this is one of the songs that's in the music book that when you stay at the Chili Camp, this is a song you learn. Aloha. Aloha means we welcome you. It means more than words can say. Aloha means good luck to you. Goodbye at the close of day. It's just like a love song with a haunting sweet refrain, bringing you joy, bringing you pain. Aloha means farewell to you until we meet again. It's just like a love song with a haunting sweet refrain, bringing you joy, bringing you pain. Aloha means good farewell to you until we meet again. Until we meet again.
Oh, that was lovely.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo, Uncle Kwai or Reverend Abraham Akaka. The family
Yes.
fondly calls him Uncle Kwai by his Chinese name, but most people know him as Reverend Abraham Akaka.
Yes, although he was a minister, he would take his kids to Waikiki Beach, and this goes back to the 50s and 60s, and at the time, the Waikiki Beach Boys were still there, the Kahana Mokus, Steamboat, a lot of the old timers were still there, and they had a deep respect for my uncle, and those guys were really kolohe, really rascals, and so
They were Beach Boys.
yes, and so they would. I'm sure he would pray for them and talk with them and
Counsel them.
counsel them, and so they had a great respect for him, and he was the uncle that taught us to surf, to paddle canoe, and yeah, so those were wonderful times, and with the Waikiki Beach Boys there, I mean, they were the ambassadors of Waikiki, and
Ambassadors of Aloha.
ambassadors of
Yes.
Aloha, and
Yes.
I tell you, they ruled the surf. When they surfed, everybody cleared the way, let those guys surf, and even when we were kids, they gave us the green light, and we went out and we had the whole wave to ourselves. Those are very fun and memorable times.
Yeah, I remember Uncle Kwai. He was quite buff. He was very muscular, and he was quite the surfer as well. And yeah, with his black Jansen
Yes.
shorts.
Oh yeah.
But truly an ambassador of of Hawaii and of aloha. And, you know, it makes me reminisce and think back about photos that we saw in more recent years of a very famous march in Selma, Alabama, with Reverend Martin Luther King.
Oh, yes, yes.
Marching. And surprisingly, you know, as we looked at that photo many years ago, we saw that they were wearing leis, plumeria leis, carnation leis. And I thought, that's kind of interesting. Why would they all be wearing leis? And then we came to realize, we heard that story, that Reverend Akaka was very close friends with Martin Luther King, who also came to speak at Koiha'o Church in Honolulu. And they had a very strong, long-lasting relationship that when Martin Luther King did that march, Reverend Akaka sent a delegation up with leis that his congregation had sewn, had picked the flowers and strung those leis and took them up as a show of support of humanity, of all men being equal, no matter what race or creed or ethnicity. Yeah. A wonderful thing, aloha.
Yeah. So next time you see a photo with Martin Luther King and his contingency marching with leis on, now you know that where the leis came from.
Yeah.
My uncle Abraham
From Hawaii.
Akaka, Uncle Kwai.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, many songs that come out of Waikiki, and you know, those Beach Boys, they were very talented. They not only could surf and paddle canoe, but you know, they were musicians, they were singers,
Dancers.
hula
Yeah.
dancers, and boy, so many funny stories about the Beach Boys. And yeah, you know, maybe we'll do a fun Waikiki song, and pull up my guitar here. Hawaiian Hospitality. Along the beach at Waikiki, a fair wahine is waiting for me, with her dark eyes and loveful charms, and very sweet Hawaiian hospitality. Beneath the moon we strode along. Life is just like a beautiful song. When she whispers, come into my arms. It's just the old Hawaiian hospitality. Though my heart may throb to aloha when I sail away, how my heart may throb to the thought of coming back someday. And when my dreams of love come true, there will be okoleha or two. A little velika, how might do. It's just the old Hawaiian hospitality. Along the beach at Waikiki, a fair wahine is waiting for me, with her dark eyes and lovable charms, and very sweet Hawaiian hospitality. Beneath the moon we strolled along, and life is just like a beautiful song. When she whispers, come into my arms, it's just the old Hawaiian hospitality. Though my heart may throb to aloha when I sail away, how my heart may throb to the thought of coming back to you someday. And when my dreams of love come true, there will be okoleha for two. A little velika, how might do. It's just the old Hawaiian hospitality. It's just the old Hawaiian hospitality. It's just the old Hawaiian hospitality. Little Hawaiian hospitality.
Oh my gosh,
goes
it's a
a
fun
long
song.
way.
You know, these old hapa tunes, you don't hear them too
No,
often.
no,
I'm glad
not too
you're
often.
sharing those.
Yeah, a lot of songs that we grew up with, especially the Hapahale songs or the Hawaiian English songs, are songs that you don't hear too much
Yeah, it
of.
reminds me of those times when I would hear my dad singing. He had a group in Hilo when we were growing up, and one of, along with my uncle, the Sunlan, what was his
Uncle
English?
Tony.
Uncle Tony. I know. Sunlan was his Chinese name. Um, there are people like, amazing families in Hilo. The Brown family, Kihei Brown and Bunny Brown, Bobo Brown,
Yeah.
yeah, Billy Brown, and the Kalimas. Oh my gosh. All of these amazing musical families, and a lot of them belong to
To Haile
Haile.
Church, where
Yes.
so my uncle Abraham, when he started into ministry, I believe his first church was on the island of Kauai. Can't remember the name of that church there, but then he moved on to Maui, and it was in Kahului on Maui,
Kahului Union
Kahului Union Church,
Church. Mm-hmm.
that he was a minister there as well. And
Yeah.
then from Maui, he went to Hilo on this island of Hawaii to Haile Church. And he was a minister there for a number of years. And, they had just an amazing choir, made up of a lot of the Hilo families, like the Kalimas, the Browns, Deshays,
Yeah. Beamers.
yes, the Beamers. A lot of the old families of Hilo attended that church. So you can imagine the music there, and their choir was an amazing choir. And so, some of the old recordings, if you're lucky enough to get a hold of those recordings, the Hilo Hawaiians, the Hilo Kalimas, just beautiful and amazing songs of of this island of Hawaii.
Old time
Um,
musicians. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they just celebrated the passing of one of those members of the family, Beamer family, Aunty Sunbeam. Yeah, Moki Kim was telling us that he had celebrated
Yeah.
her passing.
Yeah.
She had passed earlier in the year, but they just more recently during
Yeah,
this summer.
Mokihino.
Mokihino, he's a priest at the Episcopal Church in Maui.
We just recently celebrated
His mother's,
life.
Lani, yeah.
Leilani Hino, who we mentioned about last month. She
Yes.
recently passed, but we just celebrated her life in Honoka'a town at the Hongonji Church, and
Just last night.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
a beautiful celebration. And Leilani was here at Mauna for many years in communications, and she was my scribe over the years and would spend time with me, and just I would share with her history and stories and Hawaiian culture, and she would put it in a newsletter. So very grateful to Leilani.
And her son Moki has really inherited her talent for writing.
Yeah.
He's penned several books already, all single word titles, like Pa'akai and Humidity, the
Yeah.
Tatami Trail.
Yeah. Well, talking about this island of Hawaii, it is a very, very big island. Hence, they gave the nickname. But we like to keep the name. Anciently this was called the Moku Okiawe.
Yes.
And at the time of the year when the Ali'inui, with the king of the island, would travel around the island, they would do it in a clockwise manner. They would stop at each district during the makahiki season. And that was a time of the year that they celebrated and honored the god Lono, who is a god of peace and agriculture. And usually it was mid-October to about mid-February or so, maybe into March as well. And it was a time when all warfare was put aside. It was a time of peace.
Sports
all
and
hard work was put
games,
aside.
yeah.
But it was a time when the Hawaiian people would pay tribute to the Ali'inui. So whenever he came to your ahupua or to your land division, there was an ahu, which is like a stone altar, of which taxes in those days was not monetary. It was
Goods.
food. It was handcrafts.
The
And
resources of the land, yeah.
right, but things that people made that those areas were known for, and so um, as the king and his retinue would stop at each place, they would gather the tribute left for them, and if it was sufficient, then they would call out Ainoa. I mean, not Ainoa, but
No, Uanoa.
Uanoa. Yeah. And it was a time when everything was free, everything was open, and it was a time of sports and games, really the Hawaiian Olympics time. But there's a song that talks about, traveling around the island and going through the 6 districts on these islands. A song called Hilo Hanakahi. And, every district was known for something, like Hilo Ikaua Kanilehua. Hilo of the rain that pelts the lehua blossom. Puna Paya A'ala. Puna that's surrounded by the
fragrance of hala
pandanus,
groves.
the
Yes.
hala groves, the pandanus groves. And Ka'u I Kamakani Ku'ehulepo.
That wind.
Ka'u is in the south district, of which the wind stirs up the dust.
Ku'ehulepo.
Ku'ehulepo. And then, of course, you get around to the Kona district, Kona Ike Kaima Oki Oki. Kona, famous for a striped sea. So as you travel in South Kona and you're driving way above the ocean and you look out at the seas, you can see the streaked seas of Kona.
Yes, that are caused by the currents, yeah?
Currents,
The changing
right.
currents that swirl along the shoreline.
So now we've gone through Hilo, through Puna, wrapping around Ka'u and into Kona. Now we're going north of Kona into the district of Kohala, and in Kohala you have Kawai High, known for its Kai Havanavana, the Whispering Seas. You have Waimea, Ikaua, Kipu'upu'u, famous for its Kipu'upu'u winds and rain. And then as you continue your journey through Kohala, Kohala known for its Makani Apa'apa'a, for its Apa'apa winds. And then going around the island, continuing your Huaka'i, your journey around the island of Hawaii or Moku Keawe, you come to the Hamakua area, and Hamakua known for the many, many waterfalls. And then you come back to Hilo, Ika'ua Kanilehua. Right. So we'll sing that song.
Yeah.
Hilo Hanakahi Ika'ua Kanilehua.
Hilo.
Hilo Hanakahi Ika'ua Kanilehua. Puna Paya Ala Ika Paya Ala Ika Hala. Ka'u Ka'u Ika Makani Ika Makani Ku'ehulepo. Kona Ike Kai Ike Kai Maoki Hawaii hai ike kai Havana Havana. Wai mea ika ua ki pupu. Kohala ika makani apa. Hamakua inavai lele inavai. Haina kapuana ika ua kanilehua. Haina kapuana na apana o Hawaii.
Lovely.
And that was a song done by Uncle Square Kalima on the album The Hilo Kalimas, who did a beautiful rendition of that song, talking of this journey, this huaka'i around the island of Hawaii. Yeah.
Beautiful songs of a beautiful land, island of Hawaii. Yeah.
You know, there's many stories and legends here, and we mentioned about, you know, some of the old families here, like the Beamer family, and, you know, Aunty Nona Beamer, of whom you were the TA or teacher's aide at Kameme schools. Aunty Nona Beamer coined that term Hawaiiana, meaning anything to do with Hawaii, whether it's hula, music, food, language, anything to do with Hawaii was considered Hawaiiana. And so, you know, she was not only a kumuhula or hula master, but she also was a great storyteller. And she would share a number of stories. And when you come to Mauna Lani and you come to the cottage, you're going to see bushes out here, which is a plant which is called naupaka. And the naupaka plant is a native to Hawaii, is indigenous to Hawaii, and it's a plant that if you take a good look at the flower, it appears to be only half of a flower, of which its 5 petals are pointed down towards the earth. And there's a counterpart to the naupaka that you find here along the shoreline called the naupaka kahakai. Now, if you go up in the mountains, the counterpart to the naupaka kahakai is the naupaka kuahivi, which is a mountain variety of the naupaka. And if you look at the flower of that naupaka, it seems to be only half of a flower, of which its 5 petals are pointing up towards the heavens. And so Aunty Nona shared a story, and there were many versions of this story of naupaka, but in the story of naupaka, it spoke of 2 lovers who were deeply in love with each other, and one day this beautiful stranger, beautiful woman appeared before this handsome young man, and she wanted to gain his affections and take him away from his sweetheart, his Ipo. And this man, you know, feigned the love of this beautiful
Spurred,
stranger,
yeah.
and didn't realize who that beautiful stranger was, but none other than the goddess of the volcano, Pele. And so, in her anger, Pele became her fiery self, and this young man, in great fear, started running up to the mountains. And Pele has many brothers and sisters, and so the brothers and sisters felt bad for this young man, and before
Took
their
pity on him.
sister
Yeah.
could change him into a stone, into pohaku, they immediately transformed him into the Naupaka Kohivi, or the mountain variety Naupaka, of which is 5 petals point up towards the skies of the heavens. So even more angered, Pele now, heads
Turns her
to
anger
the shoreline and pursues the beautiful young maiden. And before the maiden can be turned into a pohaku, into stone, she immediately transforms into the Naupaka Kahakai, which is this plant that you're holding.
Yes.
So if you can see this plant, it has very thick, succulent leaves to be able to endure the intense sunlight and the salt spray here. But if you look at the blossoms, it seems to be only half of a flower, but of which the petals are pointing down towards the earth. Yes, towards the land. And so in this story of Naupaka, it said that if you pick the half blossom of the sea and then pick the half blossom of the mountain and you put the two halves together to make one whole flower, it's then that the spirits of the lovers reunite. So that's the story of Naupaka. And there was a beautiful song that was written many years ago, of which I used to hear the recording of that song by Ed Kenny, who did a beautiful version of that song, Naupaka. Well, some years ago when I was still working for Aloha Airlines, we went to LAX, and we met with the regional sales manager of Western Airlines. Her name was Jan Carter. So I got to meet Jan, and she handed me this song, Naupaka, and I said, "Oh, I heard this song." And she said, "Yes, I composed this song." And I went, "You composed this song?" I said, "How is that? It's a song that's all in the Hawaiian language." She said, "When I was going to college,
she had a
one
roommate,
of my favorite friends in college, and perhaps a roommate, was Nona Beamer, Aunty Nona." And so Aunty Nona brought Jan Carter to Hawaii, to her family, and the family Hanai adopted Jan Carter. So Jan learned a lot through the Beamer family, and the Beamers are hula masters, they were composers, they
and
were
musicians.
great musicians, recording artists like Uncle Mahi Beamer and his sister Sunbeam.
And the nephews, Kiola and Kapono Beamer.
Yes, so quite a prominent musical family, the Beamer family.
Iconic, renowned family.
Yes. And so Jan, through her knowledge gained in Hawaii and the influences of Hawaii, composed this song after the story that you heard from Aunty Nona, the story of Naupaka. So, shall we do that?
That would be lovely.
Yeah. And let's see, shall I do it on guitar or ukulele? Well,
I'll
since I have
dance
my
it.
guitar.
Yeah, I'll dance it to whatever instrument you play.
Okay. na puala o nauna a pili mauno ke aloha ke pua noe o paia e ke hau o maka palu palu maumomi alohi lohi maliu mai kupua nau e iru konani ulama amalama o nau paka ke pua noe o paia e ke hau ko maka palu palu maumomi alohi lohi maliu mai kupua nau e iu konani ulama
Yes, I will cherish
amalama
and care for you,
o nau
my naupaka.
ulama amalama o nau paka. The love song of Naupaka. Thank you.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah, I know you usually translate that song as you're
Sorry.
dancing.
I was just so mesmerized by your voice and your music.
So many, many beautiful songs come from the stories that we grew up learning. Well, during this time that we've been talking story, you've been working on a beautiful lei.
Yes, and I'm not done yet.
And
I have more to come.
Yes.
But-
And it's a lei made out of a flower called pakalana.
Yes.
And
That we gathered from our yard.
yes, so every morning Anna wakes up early in the morning and goes out to the pakalana vine and is very careful not to pick a blossom with a honey bee on top because the honeybees love the sweet blossom of this pakalana. And I guess when you are completed with that lei,
Oh, okay.
then we can actually
All right.
do a song about this
We
lei.
we can.
Yeah.
Okay.
So as you tie the ends of the lei together to make a beautiful single strand pakalana lei, and I wish you were all here to smell the aroma and the
The
fragrance.
fragrance is so
of the
soft
pakalana.
and lilting.
Yeah. It not only makes a great lei, but my popo, my great grandmother, who we grew up with in Nu'uanu Avenue by downtown Honolulu, she was a great chef, a great cook, and she and my gungung, my great grandfather, who we never met, used to be the cooks for for the
wow.
Dole family and the Waldron
Waldron.
family, who are very prominent families in Honolulu. And once in a while, she would cook a soup, a Chinese soup, that had the blossoms of this pakalana, and it was actually a really tasty soup because the sweetness of the flour went into the soup, and so it was a really nice soup which had a nice fragrance to it as well. And so, I'm gonna play a song, and I'll grab the ukulele for this song, and this song speaks about the lei, and the lei is made with loving hands, and leis are made out of many different flowers.
They could be flowers, they could be ferns, they
could
be
the mele, the fragrant mele leaves
vines.
and vines, and
Or
the kauna oa that grows along the beach.
they could even be a string of words.
Of words
that
of love.
Love,
Yes.
that create a beautiful song.
And like the lei you're wearing, the lei pupuni ihau, made out of the
Kahele Lani.
beautiful color faux shells from the island of Ni'ihau.
Aye.
So leis can be made of many things or anything, including a prayer, which would be considered a string of words that go into a prayer, or a poem or a beautiful love song, of where you saw a lei utilizing those beautiful words to string your lei of love. And so let's do this song for you, lei. For you, a lei of flowers rare, for you a lei to hold and wear, for you a lei to caress when you throw your troubles away and be happy and gay, a lei of love I give to you, to think of me when you are blue, wherever you may be, over land or over sea, this lei of love we give to you. For you a lei of flowers rare, for you a lei to hold and wear, for you a lei to caress when you go away. Throw your troubles away and be happy and gay. This lei of love we give to you, to think of me when you are blue, wherever you may be, over land or over sea, this lei of love we give to you this lay of love. We give to you. As we wish a hau'olilahanau, a happy birthday to Allison, our camera person behind the camera, so you can't see her, but we're going to bring her up here to the porch to receive this gift as a birthday gift. In Hawaii, we say hau'olilahanau, so we're going to sing a fast happy birthday. Wait, don't go quite yet.
Come.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Allison. Happy birthday to you. In Hawaiian. Hau'olilahanau ya'oi. Hau'olilahanau ya'oi. Hau'olilahanau ya Allison. We happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Oh.
She was totally unprepared for this.
Yes, this is a surprise to her, and she didn't expect to be here. But you know, every month she's always behind the camera. Behind the sound, we have her Uncle John Week and Susan behind the sound system. So you don't get to see them, but you got to see Allison as she celebrates her birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Allison.
Oh, well, you know, it's been a wonderful time being here at the cottage with my dearest sweetheart, my sweet sweetie, Anna, and Leo Lani.
Yes.
And
with my sweetie, Daniel Kahikina, Akaka. Yeah, we've been together for what?
43 years.
Well, married for 43 and together for like
for over 50
something.
So don't do the math. Yes, we were little babies when we met.
Oh, don't go there. I have these silver streaks in there. I'm fond of them.
But it's been a wonderful afternoon with you and just talking story and sharing with our audience out here.
And our lovely gift of aloha of Hawaii.
Yes.
Hawaii's gift to the world. Aloha.
Yes, aloha. So I hope this is an enjoyable time for you, and wherever you may be in this great world, I hope you enjoy these programs that you can view each month. And hopefully one day you come and join us in person here when we can start up our Twilight at Kalahuipua, our once a month Saturday closest to the full moon. You know, we're just kind of biding our time and just trying to hope Manawanui be patient for time that's safe, that we can bring everyone back again and have people out here enjoying the evenings, Auntie standing up doing an impromptu hula or singing a song and
sharing a story.
Many wonderful storytellers and entertainers, singers, hula masters appear on the lanai on this porch with us. We can't wait for that time to come back again. Twilight at Kalahuipua. But in the meantime, we'll just continue this virtual talk story time with all of you so that you can view it from wherever
from the comfort
you are.
of your home,
or
wherever
you may be on a train,
over land or over the sea.
Yes, or land or over sea. Right.
Yes.
And so we want to, say mahalo not only to the people that make us sound good and look good, John, Susan, Allison behind the sound and the cameras there. And we also want to say mahalo nui loa to our home here by the sea, Mauna Lani, Auberge, and to Sanjiv and all the ohana of Mauna Lani.
And to Friends of the Future.
To Friends of the Future,
Through the years
over the years supporting this Twilight program.
At the Ewa Parker Woods Cottage at Kalahuipua.
And those out there, and you know who you are, that silently you support this in many ways. So we want to say mahalo nui to all of you.
Yes, and ahui ho kako apau. Kia kuapu until we meet again here on the porch at Kalahui Poa at Ewa Parker Woods Cottage. Mahalo a nui loa. Ahui ho.
E Hawaii e kuone hanau e kuho me kula iwine oli no awi na pono Lani o e Hawaii aloha e au oli na o pio Hawaii ne oli oli mai na ahe makani e pa mai nei mau ke aloha no Hawaii mau ke aloha no Hawaii. And we also want to do a shout out to the Sakumas, Roy and Kathy, who did celebrated
52nd annual
ukulele festival. So aloha to the Sakumas out there and all the supporters of this great instrument, the ukulele. Aloha to our children, to our daughter Kalei, and all the best in your endeavors, Kalei Akaka, and to all of our mo'opuna, our grandchildren as well. And to Mom, aloha, love you, Mom.
Love you, Mom, 96 years young.
Yes.
Aunty Millie.
Yes. So aloha to all of you. Thank you for spending this evening with us. Our virtual talk story here at Kalahui Poa. Aloha.
Aloha, ahui ho.
Ahui ho. Until we meet again.
Yes. Mahalo.